Good afternoon. I'm Pat Living with the Department of Health and Social Services and moderator for the COVID-19 update for Wednesday, September 2nd with Yukon Premier the Honourable Sandy Silver. Today our sign language interpretation is being provided via Zoom from Winnipeg by Kevin Klein. André Boursier from French Language Services Directorate will translate any questions from French-speaking reporters. Following the Premier's statement, we will go to the phone lines for questions from reporters. We will call you by name and you will each have one question plus one follow-up. Premier Silver.
Thank you very much, Pat. And thank you, everybody, for joining us today on the traditional territories of the T'Anquatchon Council and the Kwalindun First Nation. It has been over a month since we entered into Phase 3, our longest phase. Changes in this phase will continue to be gradual and adaptive as we resume more day-to-day activities in a safe way. We have all been very impressed with the efforts from local businesses to adapt and change to COVID realities. Even with some of the very creative adaptations, we know that many businesses are still feeling the strain when it comes to the that's felt through these safety precautions. Very early on in this pandemic, our government recognized a need to support businesses. We introduced several programming, including Yukon Business Relief Program, to support Yukon businesses who are the heart of our economy. Today, I'm happy to share that this program will continue to provide support to Yukon businesses. To date, our government has committed more than $40 million to support Yukoners during this pandemic. The Yukon Business Relief Program is one of these particular pieces of support. Now, Minister Pillay will have more details about this program extension very, very soon. As we navigate the repercussions of COVID-19, we know that businesses continue to need help. The preservation of our local economy remains at the forefront of our minds as we continue to take the necessary steps to ensure public health and safety. The Yukon Business Relief Program is offered in partnership with Canada's Northern Business Relief Fund, and businesses can apply for support for both or either of these programs through the Yukon government. We also continue to offer supports for essential workers through the Yukon Essential Workers Income Support Program. This program offers employers a subsidy to increase wages for essential workers and is available until early November. We will continue to listen to local businesses and work with them to keep our economy going. As of this week, all Yukon schools are open to in-classroom instruction. Yukon children have returned to school, and while there have been challenges, I am pleased to see the results of months of hard work from the school communities to ensure a safe return. For many Yukon families, the start of school year brought with it more hurdles as seasonally expected colds require more children and parents to stay at home. This causes a ripple effect as parents and caregivers also stay home to care for children. This can be a challenge, and it's a challenge that's being experienced right across the nation. I'd like to thank Yukon parents, caregivers, and teachers for their patience as we navigate new and stricter health policies in schools. I would also like to thank employers who have accommodated employees with more time off. Thank you very much for your patience, your understanding, and contributions to the safety of our society. Supports continue to be available for employers and self-employed Yukoners through the Paid Sick Leave Rebate. This program helps reimburse pay for time taken for sick days in response to the pandemic. Yukon employers can access this program through until March 2021. Staying home in response to COVID-19 symptoms will remain a necessary and ongoing challenge for all of us, but it is an essential step to curbing the spread of the virus. Please remember, we are all in this together, and our government will remain responsive to the needs of Yukoners. And we want to hear from all Yukoners. And one way to share how the pandemic has affected you and your family is by participating in the Canadian Index of Wellbeing Wellness Survey. The survey was sent to Yukoners in early August, and it closes September the 6th. The purpose of this survey is to understand Yukoners' perceptions of well-being and also the impacts of COVID-19, the public health response to help the quality of life of Yukoners. Questions will focus on things like physical and mental health, safety in your communities and workplace, paying your bills, access to education. While Yukon communities are incredibly resilient, we know that responding to COVID-19 pandemic has taken a toll on our overall well-being. This survey will help to identify some of the unintended consequences of the pandemic and also the overall health response so far. This is a chance to hear directly from Yukoners about how things are going during these challenging times and what we as a government can do to improve the well-being right across the territory. I encourage all Yukoners to please take the time to complete this important survey, which ends in a couple of days, as it will inform us as we continue to manage through the pandemic. It helps us understand the impacts on individuals and communities, and it's very valuable information. Again, the survey is ending on September the 6th, and so please visit yukon.ca for more information. With no active cases of COVID-19 and no known community transmission, Yukon remains very well positioned. Last week, 109 Yukoners were tested at the Respiratory Assessment Centre, or otherwise known as the RAC. The team tested everyone who presented with symptoms. As always, thank you for your hard work and dedication following the Safe Six and doing your part to keep all of us safe. Each and every one of us has made changes and adjustments and sacrifices every day to help reduce the spread of COVID-19, and we thank you very much, Yukoners, for your continuing diligence. Let's keep on doing this good work. Keep up the physical distancing, staying 2 meters apart from each other that are of anybody who's outside of your bubble. Stay home if you're feeling sick. Follow the new social and organized guidelines, with respect to limitations on group sizes. Limit your travel to rural communities and be respectful when you do go. Self-isolate if you're returning from travel to anywhere outside of British Columbia, Northwest Territories, or Nunavut, or if you had contact with anybody who's been diagnosed with COVID-19. And most of all, wash your hands and wash them frequently. I will say once again, thank you very much, Yukoners. Thank you for following the guidelines and to keeping yourselves and your loved ones and your community safe. Have a safe and healthy rest of the week, and I'll open up to questions.
Phone lines now, and begin with Chris from CBC.
I hate to, we didn't hear any of what the Premier just said because the audio feed was not transmitting to the phone-in line. So, we're seeing a news release, so I don't even know what's been announced today. None of us do.
Were we aware of that? Okay, can you hear me now, Chris?
Yes.
Okay, it looks like we've actually just fixed it.
You run through for a second time.
Yeah, we can go through the whole thing again, no problem.
We will go through it again.
Sure.
Can everybody else hear us?
Yep.
Okay, Gabrielle, can you hear us?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right, Premier Silver, I'm sorry, we'll begin again. I won't subject you to my intro.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, thanks. Thanks, Chris, for letting us know. If those on the live link already heard this outside of the media, I'm apologizing for being repetitive, but important that the media knows the update. So I'll start again, and again, coming to you from the traditional territory of the Kwalin First Nation and the Ta'an Council. It's been over a month since we've entered into Phase 3, our longest phase. Changes in this phase will continue to be gradual and adaptive as we resume the more day-to-day activities in a safe way. We have all been very impressed with the efforts from local businesses to adapt to changes based upon new COVID realities. Even with some very creative adaptations, we know that many businesses are still feeling the strain when it comes to safety precautions. Very early on in the pandemic, our government recognized a need to support businesses. We introduced several programs, including the Yukon Business Relief Program, to support local businesses who are the heart of our economy. Today, I'm very happy to share that this program will continue to provide support to Yukon businesses. Now, to date, the government has committed more than $40 million to support Yukoners during this pandemic. The Yukon Business Relief Program is one part of that support, and Minister Pillay, who's out on a community tour, will have more details about this program extension very soon. And I want to thank him and his department for all of their hard work on this particular file. As we navigate the repercussions of COVID-19, we know that businesses will continue to need our help. The preservation of our local economy remains forefront in our minds as we continue to take the necessary steps to ensure public health and safety. The Yukon Business Relief Program is offered in partnership with CanNor's Business Relief Fund, Northern Business Relief Fund, and businesses can apply for support for both or either of these programs through the Yukon government. We also continue to offer supports for essential workers through the Yukon Essential Workers Income Support Program. This program offers employers a subsidy to increase wages for essential workers and is available until the end of November. We will continue to listen to the local businesses and to work with them to keep our economy going. As of this week, all Yukon schools are open to in-classroom instruction. Yukon children have returned to school, and while there have been challenges, I'm very pleased to see the results of months of hard work from our school communities to ensure a safe return. For many Yukon families, the start of the school year brought with it more hurdles as seasonally expected colds require many children and parents to stay home. This causes a ripple effect as parents and caregivers also have to stay home to care for children if they're the ones sick. And this is a challenge that is not unique to Yukon. It's definitely being felt right across our nation. I'd like to thank Yukon parents, caregivers, and teachers for their patience as we navigate new and stricter health policies in schools. I would also like to thank employers who have accommodated Yukon employees while taking more time off. Thank you for your patience and understanding and contributions to the safety of our society. Supports continue to be available for employers and self-employed Yukoners through the paid sick leave rebate. This program helps reimburse pay for time taken off for sick days in response to the COVID-19 health pandemic. Yukon employers can access this program through until March of 2021. Staying home in response to COVID-19 symptoms will remain a necessary and ongoing challenge for us all, but it is an essential step to curbing the spread of the virus. Please remember, we are all in this together, and our government will remain responsive to the needs of Yukoners. And we want to hear from Yukoners, all Yukoners, in one way or another, to show how the pandemic is affecting you. And one way of doing that is by participating in with the Canadian Index of Wellbeing Wellness Survey. Now, this survey was sent out to Yukoners in early August, but it closes on September the 6th. The purpose of the study of the survey is to understand Yukoners' perceptions of well-being and the impacts of the COVID-19 public health response to help improve quality of life. Questions will be focused on things like physical and mental health, safety in your community and workplace, paying your bills, access to education. While Yukon communities are incredibly resilient, we know that responding to the COVID-19 pandemic has taken a toll on our overall well-being. This survey will help us identify some of the unintended consequences of the pandemic and the overall health response so far. This is a chance to hear directly from Yukoners about how things are going during these challenging times and what we as a government can do to improve the well-being of everyone across the territory. So I encourage all Yukoners, please take the time to complete this important survey as it will inform how we continue to manage the pandemic in a way that minimizes the impact on individuals and communities. Again, the survey ends September 6th. You can visit yukon.ca for more information on that. And thank you if you've already taken this survey, and if you intend on taking it in the next few days, thank you very much. With no active cases of COVID-19 and no known community transmission, Yukon remains well positioned. Last week, 109 Yukoners were tested at the Respiratory Assessment Center, otherwise known as the RAC. The team tested everyone who presented with symptoms. As always, thank you. Thank you for your hard work and dedication, for following the Safe Six and doing your part to keep all Yukoners safe. Each and every one of you is making sacrifices, changes and adjustments to everyday life, and it's helping to reduce the spread of COVID-19 immensely. So let's continue to do that good work, and remember to keep physical distancing, staying 2 meters apart from anybody who's outside of your bubble. Stay home if you're feeling sick. Follow the new social and organized guidelines, gathering guidelines, and respect the limitations on group sizes. Limit travel to rural communities and be very respectful when you do go. Self-isolate if you're returning from travel to anywhere outside of British Columbia, Northwest Territories, or Nunavut, or if you've come in contact with anybody who has been diagnosed with COVID-19. And most of all, most importantly, continue to wash your hands and to do it frequently. I will say it once again and once again. Thank you very much for following the guidelines, for keeping yourself safe, for keeping your community and your loved ones safe as well. Thank you very much, Yukoners. Have a safe and healthy rest of your week, and open for questions.
Now we'll go to the phone lines. Chris, CBC.
Hi, thanks, Premier. Appreciate the do-over. I'm interested to ask what your opinion is of the Yukon Party's proposal today to amend the Civil Emergency Measures Act to require the Legislative Assembly to debate certain emergency measures and certain extensions of states of emergency, and also to review orders in council and ministerial orders. What do you think of that idea?
First, I heard of it today, Chris. Sorry, we've been busy dealing with the pandemic. Again, the Legislative Assembly is opening up in October. Very excited to get back into the Legislative Assembly. Very interested in what the opposition has to say, suggestions, critiques, the whole 9 yards. So looking forward for that opportunity. As you know, Private Members' Days on Wednesdays, great opportunity for opposition to have their day to put forth motions and other things. Nothing stopping them right now from sending in emails or letters as well. But definitely really looking forward to the opening of the Legislative Assembly.
Follow up, Chris?
We've talked about this before, but is it your assertion then that the government is simply too busy to have any kind of on-the-record legislative review of your government's actions during the pandemic over the last several months?
No. Not at all. There's no other way to answer that question, Chris, other than no. I mean, the Legislative Assembly was closed down when the official opposition requested that we shut down the Assembly. So and we haven't heard much from them since, despite numerous offerings for briefings on discussions of ministerial orders passed in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Our government has been working tirelessly all summer. In fact, we've been here day in and day out since March. And that's exactly what Yukoners expect from their elected officials. So again, we shut down the Legislative Assembly. All parties committed to that. On the request of the official opposition, we will open it up again in the fall, in less than a month or a month now, and really relishing the opportunity to have that debate and to show Yukoners what we have done to not only reduce the curve, but to plank the curve of cases here in the Yukon.
Thank you. We'll move to Gabrielle, Whitehorse Star. Gabrielle?
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. I'm wondering if there's any update to how the $4 million from the federal government for education will be spent.
We don't have an official update right now, although during the course of the pandemic, we have definitely reassigned funding focused in on key priorities and in our public school system to ensure that the students are safe, the families are safe, the staff and the general community are safe. So with this extra support from the Government of Canada that we're very thankful to have, we'll be able to offset those costs and there's also a flexibility in identifying new and emerging needs to our school communities as they come in. I could say that talking with the Department of Education, they're prioritizing the spending on health and safety of students and staff in school communities, ensuring the continuation of learning for all students with as many students in class as safely possible, support for students with diverse learning needs, and for students that have additional or different support needs. Also supports for children of critical or essential service workers, and also supporting students, teachers, and support staff for flexibility in learning, including access to technologies and tools and training.
Question, Gabrielle?
Yeah, now that we're kind of in this next round of relief programming being extended, I'm wondering if there are any of the COVID-19 relief programs that won't be extended.
We're going to continue to work with all of our stakeholders and Yukoners and making sure that we identify needs and identifying those needs and making sure that the supports are available. Again, I hate to dwell on the survey, the index of well-being survey, but an extremely important part of us knowing that our programs and services are targeting and focusing in the individual communities and sectors of our beautiful territory correctly is by getting that input from Yukoners as well. So whether it's from the very good work that was done with the Business Advisory Committee that Minister Play and his team and Minister Dendy's worked with when coming to economic supports, or working with our partners in public health, it's really important that we have that input from the communities. We are on weekly conversations, myself as Minister of Finance, with the finance ministers across Canada, and also the First Minister's calls, the Council of the Federation calls, and there's a lot of balls in the air as far as federal funding that's coming in. It was a long time negotiating the restart money that's now flowing into Yukon and other jurisdictions, and being aware of how do we most benefit from federal funding by continuing to ask for flexibility for the unique needs of the North, and we've been doing a good job of getting that, and then having the departments report in about where we still need to provide local territorial government support where maybe some of these federal fundings fall short. I will say as well, the federal government has been very attuned to the programming that is happening here locally. Our sick leave rebate is the basis of a national model that the federal government is taking and adapting. So not only are we paying attention to their flexibilities, but it's good to see that smaller jurisdictions like the Yukon have a large voice when it comes to initiatives and best practices being implemented right across this nation.
Thank you. We'll move to Claudiane à Radio-Canada.
Yes. So yesterday, Yukon University was closed down after a risk of COVID. Is this to say this will be the new norm, that when there is a COVID risk in a school or a COVID case in a school, that school will be closed down?
I think what you see here is the due diligence at the university of making sure that the students are safe. Every case is going to be different. Every either scare of an issue or an actual COVID case has to be taken as an independent effort. But again, the actions of the college, or the university, and the staff there is making sure that we are erring on the side of caution, so that everybody involved is as safe as possible. So it's hard to answer that question as far as will this be some kind of precedent setting. I think really it's just a matter of following the guidelines and making sure that we have the ability to trace individuals. I'm amazed at public health's ability to do that tracing very quickly. I don't know if this is going to be precedent setting, Claudiane.
Follow up, Claudiane?
It appears the number of sick days taken by YPG government has dropped in April since the beginning of the pandemic. This data comes through an access to information request. Do you have any idea why that is? It appears the number of sick days are the lowest since 2017.
I haven't seen that specifically myself, Claudienne, but I know that right away when we were dealing with things like cancellation of the Arctic Winter Games back in March, my goodness, it feels like an eon ago, but it was just March, we were definitely, again, erring on the side of caution. I know a lot of government officials and workers, to be safe, did go home until practices were in place. I was amazed at how quickly the government responded to the technologies needed to have public servants working from home. I really hope after a review of pandemic procedures that we better ourselves as far as our ability to adapt the workplace operational behaviors. But I would imagine too with April, you what I saw anyway, just anecdotally with the folks that I deal with at the main administrative building, is a desire to come back, check in, and to be present at work for some of the things that are harder to do from home. But just speculating right now, I could see if we get an analysis from Yukon Statistics as to why they believe there was a decrease in April. But it seems to be related to the timelines as far as the known and unknowns about this pandemic.
Thank you. We'll go now to Haley from the Yukon News.
Great, thanks. I had another question about the Yukon University precautions that were taken. Do you know if the 2 students who failed to self-isolate will be facing any charges from the Emergency Act?
I know that the enforcement team is investigating the incident right now, and we take this very seriously. So nothing to report yet as far as to whether or not they're receiving fines, but we are absolutely looking into the situation.
Okay. My second question, again, was another one about that $4 million in what you referred to there. Does that mean the money won't be considered? Can we rule out a return for senior students in high schools to full-time classes?
Yeah, it's not going to rule out very many things. Again, we were really happy to get flexibility on this money. There's unique circumstances to the north versus other areas. We are the only jurisdiction, not the only, but we're a jurisdiction which we don't have spread right now. There's no community spread. So we were the first community to go back into school as well. So that's unique to other jurisdictions like, let's say, Quebec or Ontario that are dealing with their own issues. So that flexibility allows us to take a look at maybe there's other costs that other jurisdictions have to have that we don't have to have. Therefore, we will apply that to other considerations. But again, it's in 2 different buckets, I guess, one coming pretty immediately and the other one coming later on at the end of the calendar year. I did talk with the Minister of Education on this, and the preparations that we put into place already for physical distancing, those different things, making sure that we have that continuing learning in class and having as much face-to-face education as possible by still adhering to the guidelines, that comes with a huge cost. And, the department definitely said, we will spend this. We will definitely be able to spend this. And it does give the department then more flexibility within their own budgeting, right? I mean, a couple of weeks ago, we would have thought that we as a territorial government were responsible for paying this and budgeted accordingly. So it's great to have an extra $4 million so that the department can look at all the things that we need to do to maximize the amount of face-to-face time for our students.
Thank you.
Yeah. And sorry for you having to listen to the speech twice.
That's okay.
Thank you, Premier Silver. I'd like to thank everyone for their time today. Our next COVID-19 update is scheduled for Wednesday, September 9th at 2 p.m.